The Mongols are undoubtedly one of the most feared and fascinating peoples in history. Emerging from humble origins in the vast steppes of Asia, they built a colossal empire, conquering territories that stretched from Eastern Europe, such as Kievan Rus, to the Middle East, crushing the Khwarezmian Empire and dominating large parts of China under the Jin and Song dynasties. But despite all this overwhelming force, there were limits, and one of the most emblematic was Japan, a relatively small island located dangerously close to the heart of Mongol power, China under the Yuan dynasty. This dynasty was founded by Kublai Khan, an extremely capable leader, brilliant strategist, and ambitious ruler. With all of China's resources under his control, including a huge population and unparalleled wealth, it seemed inevitable that he would expand his domains even further. And yet, he failed. Twice. And after that, no other Chinese emperor even tried again. This raises an inevitable question. How could such a vast, disciplined, and militarily superior empire fail to defeat a much smaller neighbor? To understand this, we need to go back a bit. In 1259, the great Khan of the Mongol Empire died, ironically, after being struck by an arrow. Power then passed to his brother, Kublai. But not everyone was happy with this choice. Many Mongol nobles saw him as too Chinese-ized, someone who had adopted the customs and mentality of the people he ruled. They wanted another leader, Arik Böke. And how did the Mongols resolve succession disputes? With war. A brutal and bloody civil war ensued, ending with the defeat of Arik Böke. Kublai emerged victorious, but at a high price. The once unified Mongol Empire began to fragment. In practice, Kublai was emperor more in title than in reality. Even so, he moved on. He consolidated his rule over Korea, crushed the remnants of the Song dynasty in southern China, and firmly established the Yuan dynasty. But for someone like Kublai, that wasn't enough. It was time for more achievements. While concluding his campaigns in China, he turned his attention to Japan. Before invading, he attempted a diplomatic approach. He sent emissaries demanding that Japan become a vassal state and pay tribute. The answer? Silence. The messengers were simply sent back. For Kublai, this was more than a refusal. It was an affront. But there was a problem. The Mongol army was legendary in land battles, especially with its cavalry. At sea, not so much. So he had to adapt. He ordered the construction of a huge fleet, relying on the help of the Koreans, who were experienced in shipbuilding and who, incidentally, didn't have much of a choice. In 1274, everything was ready. The invasion has begun. The Mongol forces, composed of Chinese and Korean soldiers under UN command, advanced rapidly, conquering Tsushima Island before landing in Japan. The first confrontation was brutal. The Japanese samurai were quickly put under pressure. Contrary to popular belief, it wasn't because of individual duels or codes of honor. The real problem was technological. The Mongols used gunpowder weapons, including explosives and hand cannons, something the Japanese were not prepared to face on a large scale. Faced with this situation, the Japanese retreated, adopting guerrilla tactics. But the Mongols faced another problem: logistics. They simply didn't have enough resources to sustain a prolonged conquest. And worse, a storm was approaching. They decided to retreat. And that's when the disaster happened. The fleet was struck by a devastating storm, destroying about a third of the invading forces. First attempt? Failure. Kublai Khan wanted revenge. While finalizing the conquest of China, he began planning a much larger invasion. And once again, he gave Japan the chance to submit. This time, the emissaries did not return. They were beheaded. For the Japanese, the message was clear. There would be no submission. and they began to prepare. Coastal fortifications were built, militias were organized. The entire country prepared for a new invasion. She arrived in 1281, this time on a colossal scale. Sources mention up to 150,000 men, probably an exaggeration, but still an immense force. The plan was coordinated. One fleet would depart from Korea, another from China, and both would meet before the final attack. But the problems started early. Disorganization, improvised decisions, and Japanese resistance delayed progress. Even so, the Mongols managed to regroup and prepare for the final attack. And then it happened. A colossal typhoon struck the fleet. The Japanese would call this kamikaze, the divine wind. The storm destroyed most of the Mongol fleet, leaving the survivors stranded and vulnerable. The Japanese did not waste the opportunity. They attacked, and they eliminated what remained. Second attempt, total disaster. Even without the typhoon, the Mongol situation was already complicated. Scarce supplies, difficult terrain, and fierce resistance would make conquest extremely costly. Kublai even considered a third invasion, but this time, even his own advisors said no. Rebellions were breaking out in China. Resources were running out. It was too risky. Reluctantly, he gave up. After his death, the Yuan dynasty continued to rule China, but never attempted to invade Japan again. The memory of the failure was too strong. In the end, Japan remained undefeated, not because it is stronger, but by resisting at the right moment and counting on a little help from nature.